Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Brick Township Council to order. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Adequate notice of this meeting was provided and published in the Asbury Park Press and the Ocean Star on February 8, 2019. Copies of the agenda were provided to the newspaper, posted on public bulletin boards and the township website.
Thank you. At this time, please silence or turn off your cell phones, and Madam Secretary, if you'd send the basket around for council cell phones, please. Thank you very much. This time, would everyone please rise for a salute to the flag and a moment of silence. I'm sorry, what?
I didn't take the
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Councilman
Sorry
Fosman.
about that. Roll call, please.
Councilman Fosman.
Here.
Councilwoman Ponderero.
Here.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Here.
Councilman Mumolo.
Here.
Councilman Halloran.
Here.
Vice President Crate.
Here.
President Zapsik.
Here.
Thank you.
Now, would everyone please rise for a salute to the flag and a moment of silence.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you accept and file the reports of the municipal officers, please?
Yes, I will.
May I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the September 10th meeting?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Mumolo, second by Vice President Crate. Roll call, please.
Councilman Fosman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Ponderero.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilman Mumolo.
Yes.
Councilman Halloran.
Yes.
Vice President Crate.
Yes.
President Zapsik.
Yes.
Thank you.
Before we go on to the consent agenda, I have a couple of announcements to make. A number of residents reached out to me in the couple weeks since the last meeting to ask for a couple of things. One of which, and we've talked about it before, but I just want to remind everyone about the microphones. Please make sure your microphones are on. Please hold them close to you. This is everyone at the dais, at the two tables, but also when you come to the podium, some of us are taller or shorter than others, so please adjust the microphone and speak clearly into it. I have checked with IT, and our system is set to the full extent that we can in terms of control the audio. So it's really, speakers really have to speak into the microphone. The other thing that I was asked to address is the conduct when people come up to speak to the microphone. Folks that kind of tend to have a tendency to talk past the clock and disenfranchise other people who would like to speak, as well as some arguing and not so nice commentary going back and forth between the speaker and the audience. So at the back table, this is a publication that's been around for quite some time. It's an overview of town council meetings. It's right there back by the agenda. And I just want to read one section called The Manner of Addressing the Council. Those wishing to speak should raise their hand and wait to be recognized. Upon recognition by the chair, the person shall proceed to the floor and give his or her name and address in an audible tone for the records. Unless further time is granted by the council, he or she shall limit his or her statement to 5 minutes. Statement shall be addressed to the council as a body and not to any member thereof. No person other than the chair and the person having the floor shall be permitted to enter into any discussion without recognition by the chair. Council members shall not direct any question to the speakers addressing the council except through the chair. And if we can all kind of agree to keep to that, I think we'll be able to move forward in a much more orderly fashion. I appreciate everyone's cooperation with that.
Council President,
Council President.
if I could have just interrupted for 1
Madam
second.
Clerk.
Yes. There was an alarm that went off and she has to reset
Oh.
that over there.
I don't believe it was either.
I asked her and she said it was good.
That's why I thought it was the door.
Coffee.
Got it? All right.
Officer,
So, thank you. All righty. Madam Clerk, consent agenda, please.
Yes, all matters listed under item consent agenda will be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. If discussion is desired on any item, this item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately.
Thank you. Resolution 4-1.
Recognize Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Thank you. Vice President Crate, please.
Thank you. This resolution recognizes October as Breast Cancer Awareness Month to encourage citizens, government agencies, private businesses, nonprofit organizations, and all other interested groups to join activities that will increase awareness of what individuals can do to prevent breast cancer.
Thank you. Resolution 4-2.
Authorize acceptance of best practice inventory.
Thank you. Mrs. Bergen.
Thank you. This resolution authorizes the acceptance of the best practice inventory as required by the New Jersey Division of Local Government Services.
Thank you. Resolution 4-3.
Authorize insertion of Chapter 159 Drunk Driving Enforcement Fund.
Thank you. Councilman Mamalo, please.
Thank you. This resolution authorizes the insertion of a grant in the amount of $15,042.55 from the State of New Jersey Division of Motor Vehicles Drunk Driving Enforcement Fund as awarded to our police department for drunk driving enforcement.
Thank you. Resolution 4-4.
Authorize insertion of Chapter 159 Body Worn Camera Grant.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Thank you. This resolution authorizes the insertion of a grant in the amount of $85,000 from the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Justice Programs for the Body-Worn Camera Grant.
Thank you. Resolution 4-5.
Authorize insertion of Chapter 159 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant.
Vice President Crate, please.
Yes, thank you. This resolution authorizes the insertion of a grant in the amount of $28,745.07 from the U.S. Department of Justice for the Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant.
Thank you. Resolution 4-6.
Authorize cancellation grant appropriated reserves and receivables.
Thank you. Councilman Mamalo, please.
Thank you. This resolution authorizes the cancellation of grant appropriated reserves and receivables in programs where the funds cannot be spent within the contract period.
Thank you. Resolution 4-7.
Authorize refund from police road job account.
Thank you. Councilman Halloran, please.
Thank you, Council President. This resolution authorizes a refund from the Township Police Road Job account in the amount of $300 to Urban Edge Properties. Thank you.
Thank you. Resolution 4-8.
Authorize receipt of bids Boardwalk Reconstruction Bayside Park.
Councilman Halloran.
Thank you, Council President. This resolution authorizes a receipt of bids for the boardwalk reconstruction at Bayside Park. Design for the renovation of this park is underway with the goal of completing the construction in time for a grand opening Memorial Day weekend. The park improvements include enlarging the playground area, installing new safety surface, creating a new picnic area, the installation of a new gazebo, as well as cantilever shade structures, benches, and bait tables, along with decking on the perimeter. The park will also feature a cornhole game area and a labyrinth concrete patio area for yoga and other general meditation activities. Bulkheading and decking are also included in the overall project. However, most of that work will be done outside of the contract so that we have a bulkhead contractor take the lead as opposed to a general contractor. Thank you.
Thank you. Resolution 4-9.
Authorize receipt of bids Adamston Area Roadway Improvements.
Thank you. Mayor.
Thank you. This resolution authorizes the receipt of bids for the Adamston area roadway improvements. The proposed improvements include base milling, repair, stormwater structure upgrades, and an overlay. And the project scope includes Dorothy Place from house number 493 all the way to Barrett Street, the entire length of Barrett Street, the entire length of France Avenue, the entire length of Greenwood Lane, the entire length of Raleigh Road, the entire length of Sowers Drive, the entire length of North Raleigh Road, and the entire length of Huckleberry Court. And hopefully we get these bids back quick enough that we'll be able to do it, do these roads this fall, but there's a possibility that could be next spring. But in any event, everybody knows it's already designed, and now it's going to be, we're going to go out for bid to get the contractor in to do these roads. Thanks.
Thank you. Resolution 410.
Authorize receipt of bids roadway improvements to Herbertsville.
Mayor.
Thank you. This is a crazy situation up in Herbertsville roads. So as everybody recalls, the council passed a resolution, passed an ordinance that requires now utilities to pave the entire width of the road from side to side if they're in there disturbing. The previous law before that here in town was if they only disturbed half of the road, they would only have to pave half the road. Or if they only, cut a little hole in front of each house, whatever the case may be, they only have to patch that hole. Lucky enough, the council passed the ordinance to now require side to side, because what was happening is you were having half the road paved and half the road was, maybe 10, 12 years old. They were always different colors, but even sometimes the roadway would be undermined because the older roadway is old and the new roadway was there. So we passed the ordinance. Unfortunately, with this particular project, New Jersey Natural Gas put in their permits before our ordinance was passed. They put it in years ago, before they passed the ordinance. So they didn't tell us, though, however, all the way through, including when they were doing their work. We were supposed to pave these roads 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and then we always check. We contact all the utilities, make sure nobody's going to be opening that road, because the worst thing you want to see is somebody pave a brand new road and then 3 months later, 2 months later, a year later, somebody comes in and digs it up. So we check that out. If they're doing anything in 5 years, we don't pave the road. So the money was there, but then we didn't have to do it because New Jersey Natural Gas was putting in these pipelines. So they were all set to pave on a Tuesday in August, and the day before, Monday night, at about 4 o'clock, they called up and spoke with our township engineer and said, oh, by the way, we're only doing half of these roadways, which was a total shock to us, because the whole way along, they were supposed to do all the roadways. And they said, oh, yeah, we just looked and we saw that the permits were submitted beforehand, so we don't have to. And they were correct on that, but they could have told us a lot earlier, which also leads us to another problem. So the state has this crazy law, that we cannot get into a shared service agreement with a utility, which is absolutely ridiculous, because the contractor's already out there. He's all set to pave the roads. He has, all his trucks are out there. The asphalt's ordered, everything else. If we can get into a shared service, we could just hire that contractor to do the entire width of the roadway. And the state, we tried to get the state to change that a couple years ago, and the state said no, because they don't have the same bidding process and things like that. But it's absolutely ridiculous law that should be changed. You should be able to get into a shared service agreement with a utility in order for situations like this. In any event, so the gas company is gone. They only paved their half of the road, and which leaves this other half. So this resolution authorizes the receipt of bids for roadway improvements to Herbertsville. New Jersey Natural Gas recently replaced gas mains in the area and resurfaced the half-widths of the affected roads. The project consists of mill and overlay of the remaining half-width of the following roadways: from Herbertsville Drive to Riviera Drive, 21st Avenue, 20th Avenue, 19th Avenue, 18th Avenue, 17th Avenue, 16th Avenue, Walnut Drive, Lindbergh Drive, Branch Drive, Main Avenue, and Riviera Drive. And this project is one of our frontline projects, because so that's going to happen this fall. We want to move that one along because right now it's only half of the road is paved and the other half looks like a war zone. It was scheduled to be paved 3 years ago. You can imagine how bad it is now. So that's the story with up there in Herbertsville. So thanks.
Thank you. Resolution 411, please.
Authorize receipt of bids roadway improvements to Riviera Beach Phase 2.
Thank you. Mayor, one more time.
Yes, this is just going back to our regular road program, so to speak. Authorizes the receipt of bids for roadway improvements to Riviera Beach Phase 2, and it includes the roadways between Burnt Tavern Road and Herbertsville Road, which are specifically 17th Ave, 16th Ave, Old Burnt Tavern Road, 18th Ave, 19th Ave, 20th Ave, Harper Avenue, South Lake Drive, Kelly Avenue, Holse Avenue, Montclair Drive, North Drive, Jefferson Court, Madison Court, and Lincoln Court. So there's a lot of different roads, and again, hopefully, on this one, hopefully we get to it in the fall if everything moves through the bidding process quickly, or else it'll be in very early spring once the asphalt plant's open again. Thank you.
Thank you. Resolution 412.
Authorize award of contract through Educational Services Commission of New Jersey Cooperative Pricing System, replacement of synthetic fields at Drum Point Sports Complex.
Thank you. Councilwoman DeYoung.
Thank you. This resolution authorizes the award of contract for the replacement of the synthetic field at Drum Point Sports Complex to Shaw Sports Turf for a total amount not to exceed $498,258.25. The township is party to a cooperative purchasing agreement with the Education Services Commission of New Jersey Cooperative Pricing System, who has awarded a contract to Shaw Sports Turf. The field replacement was funded as part of the 2019 capital budget. Installation is scheduled to begin in November when the sports teams are done for the season.
Thank you. Resolution 413.
Authorize change order number 2, final Whitman Street Phase 2 culvert and embankment repairs.
Thank you. Vice President Crate, please.
Thank you. This resolution authorizes a change order decrease in the amount of $11,335 to the contract awarded to Compass Construction, Inc., New Egypt, for Whitman Street Phase 2 culvert and embankment repairs project. The contract is therefore decreased from $259,430 to $248,095. The construction is complete. The NJDEP has conducted a walkthrough of the pipe section and has received the as-built drawings.
Thank you. Resolution 414.
Authorize award of bid CDBG Housing Rehabilitation Program Project 18-12.
Thank you. Councilman Mumolo, please.
Thank you, Madam President. This resolution authorizes the award of bid for Community Development Block Grant Housing Rehabilitation Program to Premier Property Management Services, Beechwood, for a total bid amount of $26,425. Bid notices were sent out to 33 prospective bidders from our bidder list, of which 6 bidders picked up the bid packages. 2 bids were received, with Premier Property Management Service being the lowest responsible bidder.
Thank you. Resolution 415.
Authorize award of bid CDBG Housing Rehabilitation Program Project 19-1.
Thank you. Councilman Mumolo.
Thank you, Madam President. This resolution authorizes award of bid to for Community Development Block Grant Housing Rehabilitation Program to Premier Property Management Services, Beechwood, for a total bid amount of $15,420. Bid notices were sent out to 33 prospective bidders from our bid list, which only 6 bidders picked up the bid packages. 2 bids were received, with Premier Property Management Service being the lowest responsible bidder.
Thank you. Resolution 416.
Authorize execution of reciprocal easement agreement block 702 lots 30 and 31.
Thank you. Mayor?
Thank you. This is the future Sports Dome and retail site, or otherwise known as the former Food Town site. So this resolution authorizes the execution of a reciprocal easement agreement for the former Food Town site as needed for the township to proceed with the sale to the 2 different redevelopers. One with the plans for the recreation sports dome, which will be located in the rear of the property, and one with the plans for the retail site, which will be located at the front. Prior to the closing on the sale with both redevelopers, the township has imposed certain easements and restrictions for the property for the mutual and reciprocal benefit of the 2 redevelopers. So basically, in common language, the guy in the back needs to have people be able to get to the back site, and the only way they can get there is through going to the front site. So they need to have these agreements in place that the people who want to go to the back are allowed to use the roadways in the front in order to get there. Otherwise, the guy would just be landlocked in the back, and nobody would be able to get to his spot. So it's just basically reciprocal benefit, as well as parking. So you're allowed to park in either area at the front by the retail, use a sports dome in order to use the retail. So the reciprocal easement agreement will ensure access to the site along with appropriate traffic flow and parking. And it just gives me a chance to give an update. So everybody knows we're already through the DOT, the Department of Transportation, and they've okayed the traffic pattern. We're also all done with the Brick Planning Board. So there's a couple things that are almost done. So it's the Ocean County Planning Board. All they're doing is reviewing a deed that was prepared by the attorney, and once they're done with their review, it can be filed. The MUA, there was some different, they already had the hearing with the MUA and the submission with the MUA, and then some changes were requested. So once that goes back to the MUA, as long as it gets approved, it then goes from there to the Ocean County Utilities Association. And then also, at the same time, goes to the Ocean County Soils. And then CAFRA will be probably the longest wait we're going to have at that point. The CAFRA application was submitted was submitted on July 5th of 2019, and that has to go through a couple different areas: the flood hazard area, it has to go through wetlands, and then the usual coastal area flood process. And then it will be here soon, as Council Vice President Crate has said before. That sign that's out front, coming soon, it would be nice if it said coming eventually, as long as we can get through all the state and county and, a lot of regulations and things like that. But this is another step along the process, and at least now we all know we can get to the sports dome through the person who owns the front retail site, and we'll be able to safely get there and be able to park and be able to walk between the two places. Thanks.
Thank you. Resolution 417.
Authorize award of bid plenary retail distribution license, Corrado's.
Thank you. Mayor.
That's me again, yes. This resolution authorizes the award of bid for a plenary retail distribution license. What that means is liquor store, to Corrado's Wines and Liquors of Brick in the amount of $575,000. So back on July 23rd, the council passed a resolution authorizing the receipt of bids for one new distribution liquor license. The bid notice for the opening was published as required by law, and the bids were due on September 16th. And the winning bidder is Corrado's Wine and Liquors of Brick in the amount of $575,000. And this is Corrado's, in case anybody doesn't know what Corrado's is. It's a market that is in 7 different towns up north, including Clifton and Mount Arlington and 5 others Patterson, I think, might be one of them. They are going to be opening in most likely May of 2020 at the Laurelton Plaza. Laurelton Square, I should say. Laurelton Square, which is the old Pathmark site. That's more from, what people are familiar with. So I know the north end of town, Greenbrier 2, Wedgewood, and all the different neighborhoods in that area are all looking forward to having a food market come there. And anybody can check out what type of food market it is. They have regular, it's not just a specialty place. They have regular soups and regular cereal and regular bread and things like that as well. So you can always just check out their website. They have their weekly flyer that's on there with the sale prices and everything else. And you could also, if you lived up north close enough to them, you could order your food, you order your food online and have it delivered. So you can actually click on soups and see all the different styles of soup that they actually sell, or all the different types of vegetables, fruits, and everything else. So it's Corrado's and at the old Pathmark, opening hopefully May 2020. Thanks.
Thank you. Resolution 418.
Authorize placement of tax liens for property cleanups.
Thank you. This resolution authorizes the placement of tax liens at 233 Pleasant Drive in the amount of $150.75 and 842 Columbus Drive in the amount of $110.90. I have the reports from code enforcement. One of the properties is bank-owned, and the other one is vacant and in front of our property maintenance board. Resolution 419.
Authorize special events permit, St. Paul's Pet Blessing.
Thank you. Vice President Crate, please.
Thank you. This resolution authorizes a special events permit for St. Paul's United Methodist Church to conduct a pet blessing event on October 19th between the hours of 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. at 714 Herbertsville Road. And I want to point out that I know our Brick Canine unit will also be there doing demonstrations during that time.
Thank you. Resolution 420, bond releases and reductions. Madam Clerk.
Yes, 420A is a performance bond reduction in the amount of $22,071.49 to Suzanne Dudas on Maniloking Road. 420B is a performance bond reduction in the amount of $12,381.15 to K&S Wall Properties on Route 88. 420C is an inspection fund release in the amount of $3,719.08 to C. Forsori and Sons on Maniloking Road.
Thank you. Resolution 421, tax collector, Mrs. Bergen.
Thank you. 21A, 100% DAV refund and cancel taxes for Block 324.19, Lot 7, in the amount of $4,974.03. 21B is 100% DAV refund and cancel taxes at Block 377.01, Lot 58, in the amount of $147.38. 21C is 100% DAV refund and cancel taxes for Block 902.24, Lot 2, in the amount of $217.73. 21D, 100% DAV refund and cancel taxes, Block 903.01, Lot 1, in the amount of $223.61. 21E, 100% DAV refund and cancel taxes as Block 1192.12, Lot 1, in the amount of $116.37. 21F, 100% DAV refund and cancel taxes at Block 1192.30, Lot 2, in the amount of $127.69. 21G, tax overpayments in 2019, there are two, at Block 1045, Lot 12, in the amount of $1,225.88, and Block 324.21, Lot 9, in the amount of $1,881.69, and 21H are tax overpayments due to County Tax Board Appeals. There are 8 in total outlined in the resolution.
Thank you. And that concludes the consent agenda. May I have a motion and a second to end the consent agenda?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Councilman Mumolo, second by Councilman Halloran. Open to council for questions or comments.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes,
How many,
Councilman Cosner.
how many bids were sent in for the liquor license? One. 'Cause I'm glad the food store's going there, I really am, because we need that on the north side of town. But when we did put the license out there, it had a lot of restrictions on it, and it kind of hooped it in right where that store was. And just to get a legal advice, Mr. Starkey, us doing that here at the council, putting it in that area where this food store signed the lease, is that okay?
The
Doing
ABC,
how we presented it?
yeah, the ABC gives considerable discretion to the local governing body to put restrictions on bidding for liquor licenses as long as they have a proper planning basis. And I would say that, you know, the goals here were to have a liquor license on the north side of town, because there are a number of distribution licenses already on the southern side of town. So I think one of the things we want to do is get it on the north side. And the other major issue was to try to fill empty storefronts. In other words, not to have a new building constructed. And finally, I think there was a half a mile, had to be a half mile from existing licenses, and that's really to protect the value of those licenses that are already out there. And it was not only this store. I actually counted, there were 3 shopping plazas that were eligible to have someone, meaning they were more than a half mile from the other one. They were on the north side of town, and they had a vacant storefront that could house a liquor store. So there was some degree of competition as well.
Okay, I just want to make sure this wasn't tailored just for one store.
It was not.
There was enough competition out there for the town to make more money.
Right, and I
Okay.
ran the, what we were doing by the council at the ABC, and they said it was appropriate.
Thank you.
Anyone else from council? Seeing none, close council. Open to public for comment on the resolutions. Mr. Finelli? Oh, sir?
My name is Jeff Skingel. I'm a resident of Brick since 2015, District 39. I prefer not to give my home address, if that's all right, Madam President.
I can't hear
Fair enough. Okay, is that mic on?
If it
Can
is,
you hear
turn
me?
it to our children.
Sure. Is that better? Thank you. As to the resolutions, I guess my first question is, how come Councilman Fosman didn't bring up any of these resolutions? I know I'm not supposed to address individual councilmen, but I'm addressing you, Madam President. I heard Mayor Ducey speak multiple times,
Councilman
yet I didn't
Ponderosa
hear
didn't speak either.
Councilman Fosman address any of these
This is
individually. But I heard the
Twice
reasons.
over the course of this year, Councilman Fosman was invited to participate in this process and declined.
I was asked to read only one thing, and it wasn't coming out of my committee. They wanted me to read somebody else's committee, and I wasn't going to do it.
Okay.
When it comes out of my committee, and I can read it, I will read it. I'm only on one committee. They stuck me on one committee. Everybody else is on all the other committees.
I didn't know what
I'm just
reason.
saying, that's
No,
what it is.
I
Yeah.
appreciate the candor and the insightfulness. As to item 17, the Corrados, that's where the old path mark was, you were saying? Am I right? Okay. Correct. How long has that been vacant? Because it seems like it took a long time to get Corrados into that building. It seems like a few years now. I'm not
Mayor,
sure
would you
exactly
give
how
a
long.
little history on?
Yeah,
that?
sure. So that Pathmark went out of business in 2015, along with AMP, the whole
Right.
company in the state. And the owners of that plaza are super difficult to deal with. We had a number of interested parties that contacted them over the course of time. They couldn't negotiate amenable terms. They were just really bad. I'd be on the phone with them. I'd have them here in my office saying, "What is going on?" And so I personally was going around contacted Acme. I got a whole list of
Did you
stores.
say couldn't or wouldn't negotiate? Let me make sure I heard that correctly.
I don't know. I wasn't part of the process. So, but I would get complaints saying, "I'm trying to get my store in there, and I can't deal with it. They're difficult to deal with."
I'm not aware if there's any incentive for places like commercial landlords to fill up their vacant properties in a more expeditious fashion. It seems like vacant properties tend to be more like a hummingbird feeder for criminal activity, like opioid users. I would think that maybe the council, I don't know if it's appropriate for the council to adopt a position or a resolution to address that, to say, we need to address filling these vacant buildings in a more expeditious fashion than just letting it sit and, kowtow or move at the pace of the commercial landlord. It doesn't seem to have any incentive to want to get them filled quicker.
Yeah, we started we're the first in the state. It was a pretty awesome program. We had to go through a whole process at the DCA. It's the Empty Storefront Revitalization Program.
Okay.
And what we do is we take government fees out of somebody who's applying to open up a new store, as long as it was vacant for over a year. And that's why you see the success around town about all the empty storefronts filling up. So it's been a hugely successful program, and other towns are now, trying to do what we did. Like Tom's River, you hear about them, and you hear about different towns trying to do what we did.
Is any of this information on the township website or a hyperlink or on a social media platform like Twitter, Facebook, places where people actually visit?
Sure.
I'd
Yep.
like to see that. I know you put a half hour a couple times a month. Maybe just have like a PowerPoint, just something to get people engaged. Because I note that there's only about 15 people in a room in a capacity of 238 in a town of 70,000. I would think that what goes on here is a little too important to just disregard. So I like to see, if we talk about crime wanting to go down, maybe just offer some sort of incentive to get these vacant spots filled up quick, because I would think that criminals don't want to go where people are during the day.
Council President, I'd like to answer a question.
I don't know. I don't want to address anyone in particular. It's
No, I'd
against
just like
policy,
to
but
ask.
I welcome your input, sir.
I think we need to do is, Tom's River has a program, and the program is they help small businesses get in there by seeing what they want, what kind of store they want to open. And you're not going to open a pizza place next to another shopping center that has a pizza place.
Right, makes sense.
It makes sense because they're going to be closing in a short amount of time. And a lot of sales online cut down on these little mom and pop shops.
Sure.
Because look at our Paddler. They closed. The Paddler.
Yeah, I saw that. It was
Yeah,
by
he
80.
closed because he could buy stuff on Amazon cheaper.
Right.
And that's why he closed. So it's a lot of competition out there. But we should see what kind of help them when they start a business and find a location that's good for them. And also, Corrados, they don't open up a food store unless they have a liquor license.
There was one other point I had. I know I'm past the 5 minutes, but I did have some feedback from the
Absolutely.
township. Appreciate the accommodation. One final point. I'm looking at item 19, authorized special events permit, St. Paul's Pet Blessing. I'm wondering why a permit's needed in the first place to bless pets. It just seems like there's a lot of information on here. I'm sure it's vital and very important, but I don't see ahead of time like why we need certain things like authorizations for insertion of chapters, receipt of bids. And it's more generalized, but it's to the consent agenda. How did this become on the consent? There's a lot of information, a lot of why questions I'd like to see answered ahead of time by the council members or by the mayor's office in a more public forum than just the Brick Times or the Ocean Star, places that I like to see like on Facebook. I know the Ducey team posts on Facebook. I've seen it on my news feed. So I'd like to see if the council members would address some of the more fundamental questions so people can be more informed ahead of time. Because I would submit that a more informed citizen is a more involved citizen, and I think that's what we kind of need here in a town of 70,000 with 50,000 eligible to vote and only a fraction of them voting. I should know, I work the polls. So that being said, I'd like to, thank you for taking the time to hear my comments and input, and I'd welcome a response when the time comes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from public? Mr. Finelli?
That was a nice plan.
Vic Finelli, Meadow Point Drive. I want to go home and see the Yankees tonight. I won't be too long. Quick question on the mayor's comments about Herbertsville Road. What was to stop the township from going to the gas company and the contractor and saying, pave the whole thing and we'll pay for the other half?
It's illegal. That's what I mentioned that. It's illegal for us to do that. The state specifically, we asked permission 2 or 3 years ago for similar type projects somewhere else in town, and I said, absolutely not, you can't do it. And I was like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. It's going to save money, it's going to save time, and more government red tape.
That's what I thought you were going to say. But
Yep.
Do you remember several years ago when Seaweed Point had a big problem with the stinky seaweed? Anybody remember that?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
7 years ago?
Yeah,
Yep.
several years ago, all that seaweed come in, and it was actually a health hazard. It stunk for a mile and a half and everything else. And we couldn't do this because of the DEP and that and the other. And some somebody that lived over here come in and said, look, I'm a construction person. I'll bring the equipment over. I'll do it for free. Just get rid of this stuff. And I told Mayor Acropolis, it's really easier to get forgiveness than it is to get permission. And the next day, everything was gone, end of story. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what you should do.
Right.
I mean, what are they going to say? I mean, it's so stupid.
Well, there's two things. One, the gas company's got to be on board in this whole fraud thing we're going to do.
What do they
And
do?
secondly, maybe they don't care, but the one who's really going to care is the contractor, because then they would be banned from doing any public work, and that would be tough to their bottom line, for sure. Yep.
I wanted to talk about your rules, but maybe I won't. You answered my question about the liquor store, so thank you very much. Just the questions about the synthetic fields over at Drum Point Road. How old are those fields? Oh, by the way, I'm asking the town council those questions.
Yes, they're 12 years old.
They're 12 years old?
Yes.
Okay.
The natural life on turf fields is 10, so
Okay.
we're 2 years past the
And
natural life.
I noticed it says fields. Is there more than one field there?
No.
Which field is it?
It's the football field at Drum Point Sports Complex.
Okay. So that the average life is 10 years?
That's the life expectancy set by the manufacturer.
Okay. And who's recommending that that gets replaced?
I'm sorry?
Who's requesting that that gets replaced?
The Recreation Department
Okay. Has
and the
any of
Parks
you-
Department.
Has any of you actually gone over and looked at it? Because I'm concerned that we're spending $500,000 on one field. And it is a football field in the front, and how often does a football field get used? And maybe that gets used for soccer. But my question is, okay, so it's 12 years old. Is it really in bad shape?
Yes.
Council President, can I
Yes, please.
answer that? Both my kids play on that field for soccer, along with flag football. So that's Twin County Soccer Association, the South Jersey National Flag Football League, lacrosse for one of the high schools, soccer for one of the high schools, along with all the Pop Warner football.
Okay.
Tournaments.
And
any
all of the
tournaments that are
tournaments
held.
that we have there.
Okay.
The field itself is supposed to be green because it's supposed to look like grass, but all it looks like is black.
I was there
Because
today.
of all the black turf beads that are everywhere.
Okay.
I can tell you that kids get hurt when it is not, our Parks Department has done a tremendous job maintaining it. But the kids, they tend to get hurt more with the turf burn, especially when it is older. So there's
I went and looked at
thousands
it.
of
I went
kids
and looked
playing
at it
on
myself today. All right, and physically, there are no holes. The turf isn't coming up or anything like that. That's why I was asking my question.
They glue down any tears. Our Parks Department, again, has done a tremendous job of maintaining the life of this, but
it's tearing when the kids are playing on it, especially the older kids when they play hard.
Just a comment. I went and looked at all the fields because I didn't know where the turf was, right? And my grandson and my son used to play ball there, so I went and looked. First, I was going to look at all of the soccer fields in the back, but when I saw the guy riding a lawnmower across it, I said, well, not that field. Right? Then I went to the 4 baseball fields that I used to be at, and I said, boy, they look better than my lawn, so it's not those fields. So I ended up with one. But my point is, what you're saying is true, right? The baseball fields and everything in excellent shape, so I try to find good things to say once in a while, and they were good things, and you answered my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from public on the resolutions? Seeing none, close public. Roll call, please.
Councilman Fosman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontoriero.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Yes.
Councilman Momolo.
Yes.
Councilman Halloran.
Yes.
Vice President Crate.
Yes.
President Zapsik.
Yes. Right, item 422, bill resolution.
Be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Brick that the following bills be paid, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to draw orders on the treasurer for the amounts of the same. Computer bill resolution in the amount of $9,827,678.13.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second, please?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Momolo, second by Vice President Crate. Open to council for questions on the bill resolution?
Madam President, I have
Yes.
a question.
Yes, Councilman Momolo.
Mrs. Bergen, I know I bugged you enough this week because we get this a week ahead of time, but I did forget on page 5, and I know Councilman Fosman brought this up a couple of times in the past concerning Bright View Engineering, the environmental noise study over at Evergreen Woods.
Okay.
Can you update us on that? Is that the final payment? Are we close? I know we did bring that up at the last meeting.
So the contract was for $52,250. We have paid to date $39,187.50, so the balance is $13,062.50.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's all for me.
Anyone else on the bills?
Yeah, page 23, McMahon, Scottman, and Bauman, it's for the Food Town site. There are going to be regular attorneys on that site all the time?
They have been so far.
Okay, that's on, I just want to make sure nobody else is working on it, just them? Okay, that's it.
Anyone else from council? Seeing none, close council. Open to public for comments on the bill resolution. Seeing none, close public. Roll call, please.
Councilman Fosman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontoriero.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Abstain CME, yes to the rest.
Councilman Momolo.
Yes.
Councilman Halloran.
Yes.
Vice President Crate.
Yes.
President Zapsik.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 423, manual bill resolution.
Be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Brick that the following bills be paid, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to draw orders on the treasurer for the amounts of the same. Manual bill resolution in the amount of $1,729,631.62.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second?
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Fosman, second by Councilman Momolo. Open to council for questions on the manual bill resolution. Seeing none, close council. Open to public for questions on the manual bill resolution. Seeing none, close public. Roll call, please.
Councilman Fosman.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pontoriero.
Yes.
Councilwoman DeYoung.
Abstain CME, yes to the rest.
Councilman Momolo.
Yes.
Councilman Halloran.
Yes.
Vice President Crate.
Yes.
President Zapsik.
Yes.
Thank you.
We are now at public comment. One second. Matt,
Sorry.
clerk has to read a statement into the record.
Please note that each person addressing the council during any section of the meeting during which public comment is permitted shall limit his or her remarks to 5 minutes pursuant to Brick Township Administrative Code, Section 2-33B.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you. As previously indicated, my name is Jeff Skingel, resident of Brick Township since 2015, resident of District 39 since 2018. I know I'm limited in time, so I'm just going to ask one very simple two-part question. Who are you, and why should it matter? And I don't ask that in a pejorative sense. I ask that because I reviewed ahead of time your biographies, which were informative, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to do so, and it's public. But when I ask who are you, I'm talking about more in the sense of more fundamental questions like, why are you Democrats? Why are you Republicans? Why aren't you independents? And I don't know if this is the appropriate forum to address it, but...
Not at all.
It's not a political forum.
This is
Well,
not-
it's more for the purposes of just trying to
This
understand.
is public comment. It's not public question and answers. It's public comment. So if you have a statement, you're here to make your statements.
All right, this is my first time attending, so if I do
Understandable.
something...
No, that's
Thank you
why
for
you should.
correcting me. I'd just like to get a better sense of who you are, how did you get here, why it's important to get involved, what's the role of a council member, what happens if we don't get involved, certain fundamental questions that I think people should know. What's the Faulkner Act? I know this town was enacted under the Faulkner Act. Why wasn't it enacted under the Walsh Act like in Lyndhurst where I used to live? Why there aren't commissioners instead of councilmen? Just kind of fundamental basic questions that could and should be addressed in civics class that I don't think are. I'm not aware of any civics classes or seminars that the township hosts to kind of inform the public as to your roles here. So I think what you do is important, and people should know what you do and why it matters to them. How they benefit by getting involved, how they don't benefit if they stay home. Because, again, I work the polls twice a year during the primaries and during the general election, and I see the lack of voter turnout. I think there's about 400 to 500 people in District 39 where I work the polls, and maybe a tenth or a quarter at most show up. I would think voter turnout should be higher, and I think maybe it would if more people showed up. I think if people had incentive to show up and want to hear it, and want to hear what's being said, they would. One of the suggestions I think I brought up off the record was, maybe free food ahead of time so people can eat and get a chance to speak to you, like a meet and greet, kind of in a civil manner. I'm not making political comments, but just sort of to get people involved. I know that 38% of this township is on some sort of public assistance or not food secure. I would think that offering free food once every other week to get people to show up and listen might be conducive not just to them, but it would show that you care, or maybe something in the once a month to meet at a public place in Brick, coffee with a councilman, meal with a mayor, something to get people involved and wanting to show up, and get an idea of meeting people face to face. Yes, you're published on YouTube, and the couple hundred people that do watch the YouTube channel, myself included, I take the time to watch the full hour and a half most of the time, sometimes 2 hours, and it is insightful, and I just like to think that while I commend you using that kind of platform, I'd like to see more of other platforms being used, like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any other social media platforms that some of the youth use, and just maybe offer a Saturday civics program, something like that, just to get people involved and get them informed, regardless of where they stand politically, so they know who takes what position and why. Because I think reasons come first and the answers come second. That being said, I also like to think that maybe having like a PowerPoint or something like that with people's faces and their bios physically present at the meeting would be conducive to getting people to know who you are. Because I'd like to know more about you than just what's on the bio, and I'd like to actually see the bio in front so you can show people that here's who I am. I want you to know. If you have questions, feel free to ask, and here's when you can ask it and how to ask it. So, I'd like to see more in attendance than the 16 people here today in a room for 240, and I realize I'm past my time, so I'd welcome any feedback you can offer as to what I have to say regarding getting people involved and getting people informed. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Finelli?
You didn't believe that part about going home early, did you? Before I get to my thing, I just want to comment. Please don't ever say we don't get to ask questions in the comment thing. I don't care what you call the comment thing. We're the people that pay for this. We get to ask questions, right? Several months ago, when you had a contract for the employees, the 3-year contract, and in that contract you put a clause that if the medical benefits or prescription goes up in those 3-year contract, the employees don't have to pay the increase, their share. And I made a big to-do about that because I said that they were going to go up for everybody else. And why do I have to pay mine and then taxpayers have to pay theirs? It's only fair that they pay theirs. And everybody looked at me like I was nuts. So I'll share with you right now some personal information. I just got my ARP supplemental bill for next year. That went up $9.25. Now I pay $271 a month as a single person for my supplemental insurance. That's not the Medicare, which I didn't get yet. Also got the Part D prescription. That went up $15.90 in 1 year. And from 2017 to 2020, that has doubled. The actual cost of the prescription plan has doubled. That's why I objected to that. And I don't even know what the Medicare is going to go up this year, but that's going to go up also. So it's only fair that everybody pays their fair share, and we shouldn't have to pay double. And why am I bringing it up now? Because I read that you joined the lawsuit for the opioid thing against the drug companies. You're probably aware, but if you're not, I'll tell you, we are the drug company capital of the world in New Jersey. We got Bristol Myers Squibb, we got J&J, we got Merck, and we got a host of a whole other people here, drug companies. So you people are going to go sue them, right? What do you think is going to happen when they get big settlements against you? Well, I'll tell you what might happen, right? First of all, the smaller companies might file Chapter 11 and bye-bye, nobody gets a dime. The bigger companies might cut back on their research drugs, or they might lay people off. But I'll tell you what I know 100% they're going to do to make up that money is raise the price of the drugs. Who's going to take it on the chin when they do that? The older people in Brick who use the drugs most to stay alive. So in the long run, it's just hurting everybody in New Jersey. People are going to lose jobs and everything else. You really need to think about when you jump on something like this, look down the road what's going to happen, because that's all going to happen. At the last, not the last, at the council meeting on September 10th, I told you about the Governor's Dark Fund, remember that? Called New Directions New Jersey, and you might have believed me, you might not have believed me when I told you about the NJEA contributing to the Dark Fund and everything else. I want to give you an update on that, because part of the information I gave you was incorrect. All right? I told you about that on Tuesday, and on Sunday of the following Sunday, 5 days later, miraculously that story appeared on the front page of the Asbury Park Press. So you got a heads up. I gave you 5 days notice. And those people, the New Directions in New Jersey, said, oh, we're going to do the right thing and make this transparent, because we should do that, and so should everybody else. Well, baloney, it was already out. They didn't do anything transparent. What I did tell you was that NJEA contributed $3.5 million to the Governor's Dark Fund, and he turns around and takes $23 million from Brick. Well, that was an error. It wasn't $3.5 million, it was $4.5 million. So let me read my little thing here. The names of all of the contributors were given out on Thursday, September 12th. Philip Sawinski, the group spokesman, said, we have concluded that setting a high standard for transparency is more important than the broader fight for New Jersey justice. So after I told you about it, they decided, well, maybe we should tell everybody about it. But let me tell you who contributed, right? The NJEA contributed $4.5 million, and that was two-thirds of the contribution. Who else contributed to these funds to support the governor that's taking our school money? Earl Asphalt, they're the ones that did the parking lot over there in the school district, that 1 year later we have 5 sinkholes in the new parking lot. Communication Workers of America, Local 342, I don't know what this means, but Local 342 BJ SEU, the Labor Group Building for Future Foundations, and the American, here's one that might interest you, the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. That makes up the bulk of the money that went into the dark fund, right, that supports the governor that is taking $23 million out of the Brick School District. This is what you're up against. This is what you should be fighting for. And little guys like me really can't do it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Sluka?
One other thing, can I use?
Have to ask him.
I don't want to steal your thunder. Are you going to talk about the crime statistics that came out this week? Looks like good news for Brick, so I know we had a bad year for murders, but
It is good news, but I don't have the numbers. I saw them. Went down.
Another meeting?
Sounds good.
Mr. Sluka?
I'm going to read my letter. John Sluka, 950 Sylvia Court, Brick. Dear Mayor Ducey, all the council people, and all the residents and the newspapers, Brick related. In order to correct some of the damage caused by the illegal actions of the New Jersey Turnpike Authority commissioners surrounding the Garden State Parkway, a 14-foot to 20-foot pollution, safety, and noise wall needs to be installed. Along with the wall, a vast replanting of high and thick foliage needs to be started in many areas bordering the Garden State Parkway, including Evergreen Woods, Brick High, Primrose Gardens, Lanes Mill School, Greenbrier, Town Hall, Birchwood Park, Sutton Village, and other places in Ocean County and Brick. At the last council meeting, we finally heard from a few council members in which they extolled the efforts put in by the mayor, the administration, and several township employees. They pontificated the virtues of the effort put in by the administration. I, for one, was glad to hear them speak on the matter. In my September letter to the council, I did say many of the council have accomplished very little to help the seniors from getting COPD, from developing heart and lung ailments, and from dying prematurely caused by the toxins of the Garden State Parkway. I did mention about the thousands of school children who could be suffering from the lack of sleep because of the noise coming off the parkway at night. I mentioned the vehicular pollutants that could be impacting pregnant mothers-to-be, causing, at least in part, autism of our children. Additionally, every citizen has extensions of colds and nose problems and stuff like that all the time. So when the New Jersey Turnpike Commissioners decided to create this project in conjunction with the lane widening project, they failed to see the damage it would cause to the middle-class residential areas. For 7 years, these projects have impacted the health of the residents. No one can dispute the fact that the pollution from heavy traffic has an impact on the health of residents surrounding major highways. Many studies have been brought before the council, and many articles were incorporated into the minutes of the council during those 7 years. Recently, the administration has authorized a sound study for Evergreen Woods, and I commend the administration for their effort and the council for authorizing the $50,000 for the study. I understand why some residents may condemn the expenditure, since without a lawsuit, there's little hope of recuperating that expenditure. It is, however, $2 per taxpayer in the town, and maybe, just maybe, it'll be the first step in forcing the NJTA to mitigate the problem. However, my concern is the ingrained bureaucracy of the state will ignore and basically laugh at the administration as it has in the past. In the council's response to my September letter, the council people who spoke stated the administration sent out at least 12 letters and attended over 11 meetings in those 7 years. The council members said the council itself demanded mitigation by the NJTA and even made a resolution back in 2014 to try to force the New Jersey Turnpike Authority to work with the residents to correct the problem. You know, my concern that talk is cheap and only lawsuits garner the attention of the ingrained bureaucrats. The bureaucrats and lobbyists believe They can wait for citizens and citizens' representatives, and they can advance their fake news in support of their judgments through taradiddle spoken by their beholding corroborators. They feel that in many cases, in truths, they're correct in some ways. The citizens and representatives will grow tired, as happened in the past. In many cases, past council members have just grown weary and stopped even talking about it. At every opportunity, the representative should stand up and speak out against the NJTA. Success is not measured in effort, but upon results. The administration, I concede, has written many letters and attended meetings, but nothing to date has been accomplished. The effort has been made was to just try to get the NJTA to look at Evergreen Woods, and in fact, this stuff is hurting every resident in Brick. The actions in NJTA have, however, harmed thousands of residents along the Garden State Parkway, whether they know it or not. A Wolf Evergreen Woods is long past due, and these residents have been harmed for years. But anyone living in 1/5 of a mile of the destroyed environment of the Garden State Parkway has been harmed. The toxins are killing our seniors. Kids get awakened at night in the school, and these tiny particles also exhaust causes asthma and autism. Council members need to speak out along with the mayor at every given opportunity, not just here, but write letters, speak out on Facebook or wherever it is. Thanks for your time, John Sluka, faithfully and honestly yours.
Thank you. Anyone else from public tonight? Seeing none, close public. We are now on to council comments. Mrs. Bergen.
I have nothing, thank you.
Mayor?
Thank you. So a couple updates about Brick. This is a great meeting. It seems like all the issues were about Brick. We weren't being distracted by state issues and things like that. So some more updates about Brick Township. The Lake Riviera Dam project, they are on schedule for completing the cement culvert pipe. They're building that out in Pennsylvania. They started right after we awarded the contract here. And they're going to be finished with that on October 15th, and then driving it here to Brick Township, and you should see work on the lake itself by October 18th. That's the tentative start date. Hopefully they stick with that. They've been doing well so far. It's one of the things we asked them, obviously, to hurry up with, because the lake has had to be drained by order of the state, and it's sitting there empty, or very close to empty for a while now. Also want to talk about our senior transportation program. It's going well. We have increase in services for trips. So last year in 2018, we made 1,406 trips, and here in 2019, we're up to 2,045, which is obviously an increase of 639 trips for the months of August and September combined, so about 60 days or so. So it's a big number to get up 600 additional trips. Trader Joe's, everybody's always asking about that. Very, very close to completion. I'm sure if you've driven by there, you don't see the sign up yet, but you see food on the shelves. So they're opening sometime in October. They will tell us more on Wednesday about exactly when they're going to be open. We are unfortunately still awaiting the announcement for the location of the VA clinic, the updated one. So last council meeting, I gave the update of, hey, it's only a few days away. They said it was going to be September 30th. They were going to let us all know which location got chosen. And then on Friday, I got a call from Congressman Kim, who said he got a call from the VA, and now they pushed it back to at least mid-October to make that announcement. So I was wrong last time by saying, well, it looks good because they haven't said they're pushing it back yet, but they waited until the Friday before the announcement and then made the announcement that they're pushing it back. So we're still waiting to hear on that. We have other great news for Brick Township. So we got a letter on September 19th from FEMA that everybody's familiar with, the CDL, Community Disaster Loan, that we had taken out after Sandy. Ended up, we took the maximum amount allowed, which was $5 million, and the hopes were that that loan was going to be canceled, meaning that we didn't have to pay it back. It would be converted to a grant, and therefore we would be able to keep all $5 million. And then we went through the whole audit process and everything else. And FEMA originally sent us a letter saying, no, we had to pay it back. Well, they just sent us, and then we appealed it, and they gave us a verbal confirmation saying, oh, yeah, you're probably not going to have to pay it back, and you're not going to have to pay it back. But we finally got the letter in writing on September 19th, and FEMA admits in their letter that they made an error in that they thought we had an operating surplus of $3.8 million when we actually had an operating deficit because of Sandy of $15.1 million. So they found that our appeal is not necessary. We don't have to go through the appeal process any further. They just made the correction on their own, and they said, yes, your $5 million is canceled, and therefore the taxpayers do not have to pay back $5 million. So that's a big chunk of change that we would have been having to pay back, and now we do not have to. Unfortunately, we were in that $15.1 million deficit, but obviously, as we all know, we've dug ourselves out of that hole, and this $5 million that doesn't have to be paid back was due to a lot of hard work here in Town Hall. So it's great that we don't have to go through the whole appeal process, and they just admitted their mistake, and we're good to go on that. Congratulations. So I was a little bit late tonight. I wasn't here. I was here right at the beginning of the meeting, I guess, but I was over at Lake Riviera Middle School because they received a special honoree. They had a 6:30 PTA meeting followed by a 7 o'clock celebration, and they're celebrating that they received the National PTA School of Excellence Award, which is a very, very hard thing to get. There was only 11 schools in all of New Jersey to be named the National PTA School of Excellence Award, and we're lucky enough to have one right here in Brick Township at Lake Riviera Middle School. So I was over there at 6:30 doing a proclamation and congratulating the PTA board and the president on how much hard work went into trying to get that award, and to actually come through and be one of the 11 in New Jersey to receive it is a big plus here. And lastly, next meeting, before during our meeting, but at the beginning when we do the presentations, we're going to have, it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and if everybody knows, unfortunately, we've had three murders here in Brick Township. Each one of those three were all domestic situations. A husband and wife, a father, son, and a fiance, and two fiancé, fiancé female, fiancé male. So I think it's going to be very, very special that we're going to add a little bit more rather than just doing a proclamation or a resolution. We're actually going to bring in a couple groups to come in and discuss the issue of domestic violence, and then we're also bringing in a group to talk about what services they have available for people who may be in need. So it doesn't, sometimes it's male, sometimes it's female, sometimes it's older people, sometimes it's younger people. So it's domestic violence of all races, ages. There's no discrimination in it. Unfortunately, it exists. So be able to have a community forum here during our presentation period will be great, especially in light of what we've gone through here over the last few months. So it'll be a very special night. So come on out. It's October 22nd, and as usual, we start 7 o'clock right here in the courtroom. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Starkey?
I have nothing tonight, thank you.
Madam Clerk?
I have nothing, thank you.
Madam Secretary?
No comment.
Councilman Fosman?
Yes, thank you. And a $5 million loan, Mayor, I thank Chuck Fallon. Chuck Fallon came in, and I made a phone call to him and had him call the township because we applied the first time for that federal loan, and the township failed. When Chuck came in, you only get to apply twice, and he came back in, and he actually helped us get the loan forgiven because he got Belmar money back, and in another town he got money back. So he's our auditor here. I want to bring up, I brought up 2 weeks ago a bill, and that's the New Jersey Safe and Responsible Drivers Act. I did present it to the council. We did have I gave it, next day I emailed everybody, and I gave them my resolution on this Safe Drivers Act, and I got a response back, but there was no meeting set. We have no meeting set for this, and everybody says you got to do a meeting before it's brought up. Now, I gave everybody information. Nobody emailed me back with any questions about this or anything. I asked for them. I said, well, if you have a question, just email me back. So on this New Jersey Safe and Responsible Drivers Act, this bill, A1738, is sending the wrong signal to illegal immigrants that if you come to New Jersey, the Democratic governor rewards you with the driver's license. When does the free stuff stop? To illegals, and we have thousands of legal citizens that are in need. Number 2 of the Assembly bill is the chief administrator shall issue a driver's license to a person who satisfies the requirements for the issuance of a basic driver's license but cannot provide proof of lawful presence in the United States. It goes on to read, the documents may be expired if they are presented with other acceptable proof of identity. Expired. So they could use expired documentation. So that means illegals with expired documents will still qualify for New Jersey's driver's license. You can't make this up. This is unreal. This bill establishes the New Jersey Safe and Responsible Drivers Act, which establishes driver's license for New Jersey residents who cannot prove lawful presence in the United States, and some of the requirements are as follows. Specifically, under the provisions of this bill, the Motor Vehicle Commission is required to issue driver's license to a person who satisfies the requirements of the issuance of a basic driver's license but cannot prove lawful presence in the United States. Murphy continues to require legal citizens to provide 6 points of identification to get a driver's license, but wants to give one to someone who is not required to show a single piece of identification that proves they are American citizens. Any personal information collected by the Commission is subject to the same disclosure restrictions that apply to personal information collected from the applicants for driver's licenses. In addition, this information is not to be considered a public record, but is not to be disclosed to any federal, state, or local governmental entity without probable cause or a valid warrant. The bill also provides that the driver's licenses issued under the provisions of this bill is not to be considered evidence of an individual's citizenship or immigration status, and is not to be used as the basis of an investigation, arrest, citation, or detention. This limits the police from doing their job in cooperation with ICE and puts everyone's safety at risk. Finally, under the provisions of the bill, the chief administrator is required to establish and conduct a public education campaign regarding the availability of the driver's license issued under the bill and requirements for obtaining such a license. So Murphy and his Democrats are going to use the tax dollars to advertise this crazy plan to provide driver's license to those who are in the country illegally. Seriously. We lost so many of the lives at 9/11, and we all know how important travel documents were to the terrorists. Travel documents are as important as weapons to the terrorists, which is stated in the 9/11 Commission report. The Public Safety Chair, Mariana Pontrenero, and the Council President, Andrea Zapsik, who also serves on the Public Safety Committee. With me and the Brick Township Council Attorney, Mr. Starkey, like to claim that the bill hasn't come out of committee yet in Trenton, but it is every elected official's duty to push back so it will never come out of committee. I sent an email to Council President Zapsik and Councilwoman Pontrenero, as well as Mr. Starkey, the morning after our last council meeting, advocating for them to permit my resolution to appear on tonight's meeting agenda. Instead of receiving their support of my agenda, Councilwoman Pontrenero stated she will place it on the agenda for the next public safety meeting, whenever that is. She stated there are many aspects of the bill that merit discussion, determining if an opposition what is appropriate for Brick, and is also and if so, the content of such opinion. Challenging the status quo is what leaders should be doing on behalf of the residents, and I'm not afraid to stand up for you. Now, I have my copy of my resolution I read last time. This is the State Assembly bill. I went through it, and not one person got back to me as to any discussion as far as this bill. And so, doesn't have to go. The committee was aware of the bill. The committee has no questions on the bill, because obviously it never got back to me, and this should be put on the next council meeting. We had 2 weeks to have a committee meeting, and we had no meeting. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Councilwoman Pontoriero.
Thank you so much. I need to address some misrepresentations that were just made. In reference to the bill that Councilman Fosman has drafted a resolution in opposition to, this bill was actually in January of 2018 submitted. It was submitted into committee, and nothing has happened with it since such date. Nothing. We have a protocol as to how we present resolutions for a vote with council. In response to Councilman Fosman's inquiry, not addressed specifically to me, but to Council President Zapsig, to place his resolution on the agenda, I responded that the protocol, as has been followed since I've been on council, is that if you would like a resolution proposed, you submit it to the appropriate committee. That committee discusses it, reviews it. Most of the time, we send it to our legal counsel for review, modification. And then, at that point, it's submitted to council if the committee feels that that's appropriate. That's been the procedure since I've been on council, never deviated. My response was, I certainly will put the resolution on the agenda for the next Public Safety Committee. For the inference to be made that it'll happen sometime ever, my public safety, and I say mine, I shouldn't, the Public Safety Committee since 2014 has held meetings on average of 4 times a year. This is similar to the amount of meetings held by Public Works, which was an average of 3.5 times a year, in accordance with the Recreation Committee, which had an average of 3 times per year. And again, this will be set for the October meeting for public safety. I asked that it be set for the hour prior to our council meeting, 1 time per month, every other month. So yes, this will be addressed, but there's no immediate reason or emergent reason to press for this resolution. It wouldn't make sense. Second, there is another bill that's now being proffered, and it's interesting because it has differences from the bill that's at issue with Mr. Fosman, Councilman Fosman, and apparently the second bill is the one that's being backed by Murphy and by other senators. So I believe that's important to look at that. Third, in reading the proposed bill, the sense that I got from reading the resolution by Councilman Fosman was that people who were not citizens were willy-nilly going to be able to get a driver's license without having to show what we all have to show, which is proof of who we are and proof of where we live. Well, when I read the bill, it does provide that non-citizens could obtain a license, but it requires alternate means of identification. What would that be? For example, their birth certificate from their native country, an official copy of it, to be translated at their cost. Proof of documents of their residency. again, nothing that would be different from what we had to produce, just done a different way. They also would be assessed an additional fee of $50 in order to cover the enhanced administrative costs. But regardless, there are various issues that we can talk about and should talk about in the Public Safety Committee where we address our opinions and our thoughts. I also want to hear the thoughts of our chief of police. He's in our Public Safety Committee and has feedback. For all those reasons, we shouldn't deviate from what we've done for years and what Councilman Bosman has done for years, which is we submit to committee, the committee reviews it, and then we determine if it's up for vote. So that's my position as to that issue. I had an opportunity to meet on September 26th with Sheriff Mastronardi and Sergeant Williams concerning the border situations. It was a really fantastic meeting, and the elected officials were invited to go, and I thought it was important for me as chairperson of public safety to attend. They gave us various information about how they are monitoring the borders. They're now using the same type of cameras that hunters use, so that it's motion activated. They're working with people who own the ranches at the borders, working with them, monitoring cameras that way, utilizing alternate means of being able to actually apprehend them. One of the ways that they're doing that is they've noticed that people were doing two different things. One was trying to come into the country illegally, and then second, smuggling drugs. So the drug smugglers would set up the people trying to come into the country illegally to go ahead of them. So what would happen is the law enforcement would swoop on those people, and the smugglers would get through. So now our agencies have become very wise to this, and now they have an alternate means to get both groups apprehended. And their apprehension rate, I was shocked. Their conviction rate is 100%. 100%. But while I was there at this meeting, something else came up that I wanted to bring to the attention of our residents. And that is, we were told that if we permitted the legalization of marijuana in our township, we would suffer absolutely an increase of crime. We were told emphatically that in other areas where there are dispensaries, there is an enhanced need for more policing. They say that because the dispensaries are usually cash only, they have SWAT teams in front of the building. They require that additional law enforcement be available because people are leaving the dispensary and then transacting drug deals in locations around it, selling what they just purchased for a lower cost or bartering it for other types of drugs. I thought that was important to relate to our citizens, even though that's not an issue that's in our radar right this minute. This was something we were discussing a few months ago, and hearing from Mastronardi was extremely enlightening when he said, if you allow the legalization, we will suffer an increase. And I think that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman
Sorry.
Dion.
Yeah.
Thank you. Last council meeting, I did not have on me the new buy and brick business that we have. It's Amtech HVAC, and they are giving a 7.5% rebate on all services. And I just want to mention, the mayor mentioned before about our senior busing. It's been doing fantastic. This Wednesday, October 16th, it is not this Wednesday, it's next Wednesday, is the Senior Health Fair and Flu and Pneumonia Vaccine. Please go. It's at the VFW on Adamston, run by our senior services, Zolma and the gang. They do a fantastic job. If you do want to get your flu and pneumonia shot, please bring either your Medicare card or your health insurance card, just to make sure. And if you haven't seen, this is the senior services calendar. They put one out every single month. They're here in Town Hall, or you can go on the township website. It's the go under departments to senior services. They host an obscene amount of events and different seminars that you can go to. What is this? Starting October 15th through December 7th is the Medicare open enrollment. I urge you to, if you need any help understanding all of the laws and the rigmarole of navigating Medicare, call senior services and set an appointment with them. They will help you. They will guide you. They are very, very knowledgeable, and they're trained specifically for all of this. So please, if you're over 60, visit the Senior Services website. They do a great job at Senior Services and offer tremendous services and different events for our seniors. So, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Councilman Mumlo.
Thank you, Madam President. First off, I'd like to say great job, Mayor, administration, and everybody that worked extremely hard on getting that FEMA loan turned into a grant. That's a big win for us taxpayers. It's $5 million we don't have to pay back. Great job. Councilwoman Pontarero, thank you very much for clarifying the whole driver's license situation, which seems that since 2018, it only happens to come up now when it's the political season. So we don't control state laws. We try to obviously voice our opinions on what's right and what's wrong. I attended the PBA pig roast last weekend. It was a great event. You people should go out to that. Every year they have it. Good turnout. And Sunday is the Ocean County Columbus Day Parade at 1 p.m. in Seaside Heights. Hope to see everybody out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Halloran.
Thank you. We have a 3-day weekend coming up. I hope everybody is safe, and hope you get a day off on Columbus Day and take advantage of the sales. That's it. Thank you.
Vice President Gray.
Yes, I have a few announcements. First, a few announcements from the library. On Thursday, October 10th, from 6:30 to 7:30, there will be a vintage baseball at the Jersey Shore. In honor of the 150th anniversary, local baseball historian Russ McKeever will be presenting this special program. He will discuss the game's history here at the Jersey Shore, as well as talk about vintage baseball reenactment. If you're a fan of the game or local history, this delightful program is for you. On Saturday, October 12th, from 2 to 3, the Brick Library will be hosting an afternoon at the Opera with Krista Dalmazio. Enjoy a delightful afternoon of music with opera singer Krista Dalmazio, accompanied on piano by the renowned choir director John Baum. They will present a program with a mix of opera and Broadway tunes, including Rodgers and Hammerstein, Bernstein, Sondheim, Gershwin, Mozart, and Strauss. This program was made possible by the Friends of the Brick Library, and you must register for that event. And finally, from the Brick Library, there will be a Friends of the Brick Library bus trip. On Wednesday, October 23rd, the Friends of the Brick Library are sponsoring an historical visit to Fort Wadsworth, Staten Island. Rich in history and natural beauty, the fort affords you a chance to observe an important part of our nation's history while offering magnificent views of the New York Harbor. We'll visit the Conference House, the only pre-revolutionary manor house still surviving in New York City. Following the tours, we will enjoy lunch at the Armory, located directly on Perth Amboy's historic waterfront. This completely restored naval ammunition building was once used during World War I and World War II but is now occupied by Sebra's Restaurant. Is that right? Okay, good. You made a noise, and I thought maybe I said it wrong. The bus will leave from Pathmark Kmart Shopping Center, which is neither of those things now. It is the Home Goods, soon-to-be Corrado's parking lot, between Route 70 and 88. Boarding the bus begins between 8:30 a.m. and 9. The cost of the trip is only $88, which includes transportation, tours of Fort Wadsworth, the conference house, lunch, and all gratuities. Please contact Vicki for information and to reserve your spot at 732-713-6084. I also wanted to announce that the Take 5 photo contest, we had one last year. It was a big hit. We had about 60 residents that participated, and that's back again this year. So we are inviting all of the residents of Brick to go out and take some pictures around town of your favorite things or the things that you love about Brick. It can be anything from your family to our beaches to any of the great activities that we've had around town throughout the year. And we invite you to register with the rec department. You're invited to, you're going to turn in 5 of your favorite pictures. They have to be 8x10s. And you have until, I believe the deadline is December 20th to do that. And our gallery night, which was a big hit last year, will be held in January this year. And finally, on Saturday, this Saturday, there will be a construction drop-off day at the Hill at DPW from 8 a.m. until 3:30 p.m. This is for Brick residents only. You must have a tax bill and driver's license. You can drop off any construction materials with the exception of hazardous materials, and we are asking that, again, it only be Brick residents, no contractors or commercial vehicles, please. Thank you.
Thank you. On September 24th, for the third time in as many council meetings, Councilman Fosman attempted to introduce a resolution that had not been previously viewed, researched, or considered by the township attorney nor the rest of the council. Having served for nearly 8 years on this governing body, he's fully aware of the procedure to contact the council president in advance of the agenda being prepared to bring the matter up, or to bring the matter up in an appropriate committee. He chose to do neither. This is particularly troubling since he said it was a matter of urgent public safety. Yet when we had a Public Safety Committee meeting just 2 weeks prior, he never mentioned it. Assembly Bill A-1738, which would establish the New Jersey Safe and Responsible Drivers Act, creating a category of license for individuals who cannot provide proof of lawful residence in the United States, was introduced in the Assembly on January 9th, 2018, and referred to committee, where it has not been heard from since. So just to be clear, this matter of urgent public safety was introduced in the Senate legislature a full 6 months before Councilman Fosman decided he was no longer a Democrat, and another 15 months before he brought it up to council.
That's like John
During that time, there have been 7 Public Safety Committee meetings, including the one on September 10th, and yet this matter was never mentioned. On September 25th, Councilman Fosman emailed his proposed resolution to me, Councilwoman Poncherero, who is the Chair of Public Safety, Mr. Starkey, Mayor Ducey, and the Township Clerk. Councilwoman Poncherero advised that she would put the matter on the next Public Safety agenda for review and discussion, and for the record, that meeting is on November 6th. The reasons for this are twofold. With no movement on A-1738 in over 22 months, and no legislative sessions currently scheduled in the Assembly, there's no urgency for this council to act without careful consideration. Additionally, as Councilwoman Poncherero brought up, there is another bill, Second Assembly Bill A-4743, that would also establish the Safe and Responsible Driver Act, creating a category of license for individuals who cannot provide proof of lawful residence in the United States. This bill was introduced in December of 2018. So if we were to vote in favor of Councilman Fosman's resolution, we would likely be voting to denounce the wrong bill. If the matter of driver's license for undocumented individuals comes to a vote in the legislature, it is most likely going to be A-4743, as that bill also addresses issues with the Real ID driver's license that New Jersey is federally mandated to become compliant with this year, and which residents will have to obtain in order to be able to use their license as valid ID for travel purposes. So I just want to be clear about this. You have a regular driver's license that we all probably have in our pockets right now. You can continue to use that for driving purposes. If you want to use it to board an airplane for a domestic flight, you will have to get the real ID driver's license. However, if we object to A4743 by resolution, we'd also be objecting to matters of national security contained in that bill, as well as giving special consideration on reduced fees to veterans and Gold Star families. It is precisely for instances like this that council committee structure is in place, so we can discuss these matters in full and be guided by our legal professionals and consider any and all possible consequences of our actions. Their next council meeting will be on Tuesday, October 22nd at 7 p.m. in this room. Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.